Jim Marrs talks about George Orwell in an interview with Project Camelot, Kerry Cassidy, talking about the projects of dividing and conquering the nation of this earth by, they named them elite, creating unending wars, making nation to borrow money from the banks, international bankster, and creating a profit from themselves. Let's listen the way Jim Marrs was wording these facts.
Obama administration to register firearms, to register ammunition, and to basically try to disarm the population. And if that ever comes to fruition, then we're just going to become serfs in a new middle age of feudalism.
Well, what about China? You know, because there's talk that China may be set to invade at some point in the future. That we may be having war with China. Have you heard anything to that effect?
Well, you know, some Chinese generals are even on the public record saying war with the United States is inevitable. I don't know why. Right now, we're totally dependent on each other. We're dependent on China to produce just about everything that we use. You know, go in any store and pick up a product and look on the bottom, it'll say made in China.
Right.
Okay, but then likewise, they're dependent upon us because if we're not there to buy all this junk from them, they don't have a market. So I think some of this belligerence is concocted because actually, if you want to know what here's the real game plan, okay?
Okay.
And this was articulated back in 1948 by a man named Eric Arthur Blair, who was a British Fabian socialist and very well connected to
Americanton Blair.
royals and to the aristocracy there in England, and I think he actually had a pretty good view on what the overall game plan was, and so he wrote it all down in a book under the pen name George Orwell.
Okay.
And of course, that was 1984. And in there, if you'll go back and reread 1984, you'll find that they had divided the world into three economic blocks. In 1984, they called it Oceania, Asiana, and East Asiana. In today's real world, it's the European Union, the soon-to-be North American Union, and the future Asian Union. And then what they do is they play two of those blocks off against each other perpetually to create the tension necessary for arms races and for defense spending and lots of loans going through that generates profit and control over the population.
Right.
That's the game plan.
Okay, well, that's a great overview of what's in operation right now. Do you believe that there's also, the Georgia Guidestones, basically what they say, which is elimination of the population as one of their objectives?
Right. Whoever built the Georgia Guidestones, again, I think was privy to this New World Order agenda. And this is where I do depart from their thinking. I have an interview with General Maxwell Taylor that was done in the early 70s, and he being not only our last ambassador to Vietnam, but also a ranking member of the Council on Foreign Relations, and I think he was fully articulating their thinking, and he said basically that by the beginning of the next century, well, that's now, he said we have to eliminate, about a third of the world's population. Because he said the basic overall problem is overpopulation, and that lays at the heart of all the other problems, pollution and the economy and everything. And he said this will be done by limited regional conflicts like Iraq, Afghanistan, disease, AIDS in Africa, and starvation, which is prevalent in many of the third world nations. And he said, I'm not sure we could save these people, and I'm not even sure we should try. And so that is their thinking, to decrease the world's population. Now, here's the fallacy in their thinking. There really is no overpopulation problem. I heard this stated some years ago. I didn't quite believe it, so I checked, but it's absolutely true. The entire 6.5 billion human population could actually live comfortably enough in the state of Texas.
Really?
Really. So it's not a overpopulation problem, it's a population concentration problem. You have most of the world is jammed into these huge metropolitan areas, big mega cities, okay?
Right.
There are other ways of doing things, okay? I could picture a world where you and Bill could live out in a beautiful countryside, a rural setting, okay? Got your little lake there, and you've got an orchard, and you've got a garden, and you're just doing great. And when it's time to go shopping, then you get on your bicycle or your little electric cart, and you go down to the little station, and you hop a high-speed electric line, zoom, that would take you to a shopping center area, like a huge mall. And you go through there, and you do your shopping, okay, and then you zoom back home and get on your bicycle, pedal back to your little place, and you have your own little energy collector generator, all right, you're self-sufficient energy-wise, and you say, yeah, but what do I do for work? Well, it would be whatever you wanted to do, because we're in an awkward situation now, because we've all been brought up on this Christian work ethic that says everybody's got to work, okay? Well, that's a product of older times when truly everybody had to work just to survive. And in fact, that's why you had to have lots of kids, because you had to have somebody work the fields so you could produce produce so you'd have food to eat. But today with technology, you know, just a few mega farms can raise enough food for everybody. The technology's there. We could all be living like kings if we demanded it, and if we wanted it, and if we could convince these would-be rulers of the world that we all deserve to have a fair shake at life.
Absolutely.